There are no subtractions and divisions in our mind. There is only addition and multiplication. I will just remove negative thoughts and I will have positive thoughts. All the best, it's not going to work. It's just that you need to pay little attention as to how it functions. You will see there is a distinction between what is you and what you have gathered. Well, see the way the question is asked and also the way normally it's addressed is, people think there is something called as negative thought and positive thought. They want to remove the negative thoughts and have only positive thoughts. For such people, I would ask them to just experiment for 10-15 seconds. Let them forcefully remove one thought from their mind. For example, next 10 seconds, just don't think of a monkey. Try not to think of a monkey for next 10 seconds. You will see you will be full of monkeys. So what I'm saying is, this is the nature of your mind, because in this mind, all the three pedals are throttle. There is no brake, there is no clutch. Whatever you touch, it will only go faster. In this kind of mind, people have been taught from moral teachers and religious teachers, do not think about bad things. Well, since then it's been a full-time job. So there is no way you can handle the mind like this. This doesn't need any great enlightenment. If you spend 2 minutes with your eyes closed, you will realize you cannot do anything forcefully with this mind. So, I want to remove negative thoughts. Do not ever go in this direction, because what you want to remove will become your quality. Always you will be on it. So what should I do? The thing is this, without understanding the fundamental mechanism of this mind, because our mind, human mind, is the most sophisticated computer on the planet. Even all the supercomputers have come out of this. When this is the case, is it not important that we understand the mechanics of how it functions? One simplistic aspect of how it functions is, there are no subtractions and divisions in our mind. There is only addition and multiplication. If you try to do something with it, it will say one more. If you try hard, it will multiply into many more. In this mind, you don't try to identify what is positive, what is negative and try to remove it. First of all, one needs to understand, this mind of yours, this body of yours is supposed to serve you. The life that you are is important. Body and mind are vehicles that must serve us. If you sit in a vehicle, it must go where you want to go. If it goes to its own destination, what is the point of such a vehicle? It's just a nuisance. Right now, most human beings are unfortunately experiencing this fantastic possibility of human mind as a nuisance, as a troublesome thing. Well, this is the most beautiful thing you have. It's just that you need to pay little attention as to how it functions. One simple thing is this. First and foremost process is, that's why we put out this process called Isha Kriya. This is to distance yourself from your physiological and psychological process. There is something called as you which exists. This is not a composite of all your thoughts and emotions and physiological processes. Beyond that, there is you. If you close your eyes, even if you cannot see anything, you're still there. It is through the window of your eyes that you're looking out, but if you close your eyes, it doesn't mean that you don't exist, you still exist. So beyond your thought, you still exist, beyond your emotion, you still exist. So that you, the life that you are, this has to come into your experience. Why is it that you're not allowing that to come into your experience, which is the most significant aspect of who you are? Who you are right now, the most significant aspect is, you and me are alive right now, this is it. What I'm thinking, what you're thinking is not the important thing. We are alive right now, that is the important thing. So, it is important that you focus on this fundamental sense of aliveness within you, and then you will see there is a natural distance between you and your thought process. Once there is a distance between your psychological process and your physiological process, this is the end of suffering. Because there are only two kinds of suffering that human beings go through, physical suffering and mental suffering. Once you create a little space between you and your mind, between you and your body, this is the end of suffering. This is something every human being has to experience and know, otherwise thinking I will just remove negative thoughts and I will have positive thoughts, all the best, it's not going to work 100%, it's not going to work because nobody can remove it, they can avoid it for some time. So when negative thoughts come, you say Ram Ram, Shiva Shiva, whatever you want, but this is just avoiding, it's not gone. The moment you stop that, it will pop back with great force, otherwise it'll come back in your dreams. So it's very important, first of all you need to understand your anger, your resentment, your fear, your anxieties, the negativity that you generate. Generally resentment, anger, it is always directed towards somebody. But we need to understand this is poisons that we are drinking and expecting somebody else to die. Fortunately, life doesn't work like that. If I drink poison, I die. If I drink poison, you don't die. So, we need to understand this. When I say poison, today you can have yourself chemically analyzed. Right now, what is your blood work, what it says? 5 minutes of intense anger, check your blood work and see, there will be lots of negative elements in it, literally you're poisoning yourself. So, do you want to poison yourself? Definitely not. Now the very question is coming from certain helplessness, what shall I do? Don't do anything, just sit back and just concern yourself with something which is a life process. Maybe your heartbeat, maybe your breath, maybe just the sensation of being alive. Depending upon how sensitive or how perceptive you are, accordingly, find something. It could be a sensation in the body, it could be breath, it could be heartbeat, it could be anything, something which indicates life to you. Just pay attention to that for some time. Slowly you will see there is a distinction between what is you and what you have gathered, which includes both your physiological and psychological possibility or mess, whatever you made out of it.
People have no energy because mental diarrhea. You eat bad food and then try to stop diarrhea, it's not going to work. This much you do. Tonight before you go to bed, keep it down and go to bed. In a little while, if you simply sit here, things around you will reverberate. Is it possible to do it without using specific mudras, whatever? Yes. These are all small help, little assistance. You don't see a Shiva or a Krishna holding mudra and sitting like this, simply intense. Nor will you ever see me sitting like this. No, you will not see me practicing Shambhavi or this or that. If I just close my eyes for 20 seconds, I'm done. I'm ready for the day. So, this is all good help. But is it the only way to do it? No. You can simply sit. If you learn to simply sit, you'll become tremendously intense. Right now, your energy is simply expended by doing unnecessary, endless activity. When you have so much mental diarrhea, how can you have energy? Suppose you have diarrhea, do you see how weak you feel? Yes or no? Right now this mental diarrhea, that's why people have no energy. They want to just eat and sleep all the time because mental diarrhea is very exhausting. If you have physical diarrhea, you know how exhausting it is. Yes? This is also equally exhausting. People are sleeping 8 hours, 10 hours a day. not because they're working so much or their body is in such a bad state, it's just mental diarrhea. If you stop the mental diarrhea, there's enough energy to make this very, very intense. Now how do I stop mental diarrhea? If you have diarrhea, physical diarrhea, what is the first thing to do? Huh? What? Yes, run to the toilet, I know that. I'm saying as a corrective measure, what's the first thing you do? No, as a corrective measure, what is the first thing you do? First thing is stop eating, right? Yes or no? But diarrhea means in some way we've eaten something that the body doesn't want. It's trying to throw it out. Yes? You've taken something inside which the body doesn't like. It wants to throw it out. First thing is, stay away from food for some time. You eat bad food and then try to stop diarrhea, it's not going to work. So similarly, bad food for the mind is just this. You have gotten identified with things that you are not. The moment you get identified with things that you are not, mental diarrhea is inevitable. It's bad food for the mind. Now it will run endlessly, do what you want. You do any damn meditation, you say Shiva, Rama, it's not going to stop. It's not stopped, isn't it? Because bad food is being eaten every day, you're getting identified with more and more things and you want to stop your mind, you do whatever kind of circus, it is not going to stop. If you disidentify with everything, if you understand what is you and what is not you, if you keep a little distance from that, mind will become still. If you want, you can use it, otherwise you can keep it. Now my hand is there, if I want I can move it, otherwise I can keep it. This is a useful hand. Suppose it starts jumping like this. You clearly know there is some kind of an ailment, isn't it? Yes or no? So if hand is jumping, you know it's an ailment. If mind is jumping, is it an ailment or no? Ah. The ailment has come because continuous wrong diet. You tell your mind that I am this, I am this, I am that, I am that. It's having diarrhea. You stop giving it wrong food. If you clearly see what… even if you do not know what is me, at least you know what is not me, isn't it? This much you do. Tonight before you go to bed, sit on your bed and sit down and discount everything that is not you. This house in which you're living, is this me? No. This loving parent or mother, father, wife or husband or child, they're wonderful, but is this me? No. Now these nice clothes I'm wearing, is this me? No. Now my body, I like it, but is this me? No. Now I'm having so many thoughts, is this me? No. Now I'm having wonderful emotions, is this me? No. Like this, everything that's not you, before you sleep, keep it down and go to bed. Tomorrow morning, you will wake up considerably more intense than today. Every day you do it. In a little while, if you simply sit here, things around you will reverberate. Really. I was a few years ago, couple of years ago, I was in America and this is a very typically American question. This lady comes up to me and she's very angry. I've been doing this yoga for last 35 years, nothing happened. But you went and just sat on a rock and things happened to you. This is not fair. Where is that damn rock? She thinks it's the rock which did it. The only sadhana that I did in my life is, right from my very early age, though I was very actively involved with everybody around me, I never identified myself with my parents or my siblings or my endless number of friends or the society or the religion or the country or anything around me. Never identified. Not that I was not involved, I was very involved, very active. Even today I'm very active and involved, but not identified. If you don't identify with anything, there is enough energy in this to become intense. See, I want you to understand, your life energy right now in this body, how many things it's doing here as you're sitting here? Hello, do you know the complexity of activity it is doing? Every cell in the body, your liver, your kidney, your damn spleen, and all kinds of stupid things that we cannot even figure even today. Yes? Just see as you sit here, how many things this energy is doing. Obviously, it must be intense to do all this. You are not able to experience it because of diarrhea. When you have diarrhea, that's how you feel, isn't it? Yes or no? So that's how it is. Stop the diarrhea. Stop eating bad food, diarrhea will stop. Once diarrhea stops, there's enough energy in this to sit here and reverberate in a very intense way.
If you just happen to be in the wrong type of ambience, negative things can hit you. To always end up in the right place in your life, it's a certain talent, don't think it's luck. In the spiritual traditions, in any spiritual tradition, always Sangha, or association, or to be in the right kind of company has always been a very important part of one's growth. Because rarely are there human beings, just a small percentage, who, irrespective of where they are, they will still stay on course. All other human beings need support. If they are not in the right company, there's very little chance of them doing the right things. Unfortunately, that's a reality. It is not necessarily a misfortune, because what this means is they are open to influence. It is the responsibility of the social fabric to create the right atmosphere for every individual, to grow towards what is beautiful for the individual and for everybody else around him. But not always, or rarely, societies conduct this responsibility. In the right sense, because societies are not led
societies are allowed to go through a metamorphosis depending upon what is the influence, in that direction it grows. I don't know, I still don't want to believe it. They're telling me over 80% of the content on the internet is pornography. I still don't want to believe that it is possible. But people who are in the know are telling me, Sadhguru, that's how it is. That's a sick world. 80% is a sick world, not a healthy world. So to be under the right kind of influence, an influence which nurtures you towards your ultimate truth, an influence which gives you the necessary courage and strength to walk the path of integrity. Because with a weak sense of integrity, nobody is ever going to be spiritual. And this must be understood, that for bad things to hit you, it need not necessarily be aimed at you. If you just happen to be in the wrong type of ambience, negative things can hit you. That reminds me, two terrorists were preparing envelope bombs, postal bombs. After having done quite a few, one asked the other, have you filled enough? Do you think we have filled enough RDX into the envelopes? The other said, why don't you open it and see? He said, oh, it will explode if I open it. I said, you fool, it's not even addressed to you. It need not be addressed to you. You open the wrong can, it'll blow up in your face. This is so in the world, this is so within you. There are lots of bins in your head. You open up the wrong bin, worms will crawl out. You open up another bin, fragrance will come out of it. Have you noticed yourself? Have you yourself noticed within you? If you open certain part of your mind, filth will come out. If you open another part of your mind, fragrance will come out. Have you not noticed? To be conscious enough, to be in the right company so that filth will not be tolerated, so that you open up the fragrance within you, not the filth, is an important part of one's growth. Because you don't have to go looking for a gutter for filth. There is enough in your head, isn't it? It is just that there is enough garbage in every place. There's enough garbage in the ashram also, so many people living. I'm sure there's enough filth. But we sit here with nice breeze and fragrance. We don't go sit there where there is filth. The same goes within you. Within the geography of your body, there is filth and fragrance. Which one do you open up for yourself and everybody around you? That's a big question. That takes a certain level of awareness and a certain company. This is why satsang, to be in the company of truth, Very important. If you go around the ashram, the geography of the ashram, there must be at least 8 or 10 very filthy tanks. These are called septic tanks, full of septic. If you every day go sit there, of course you'll come to the conclusion, Isha Yoga Center is the filthiest place on the planet. If you fall into it, Isha Yoga is the most horrible experience in your life. But you're not supposed to fall into that pit, you're supposed to fall into this pit. But you got the geography wrong because you have a wrong history. Your karma is your history, isn't it? Shankaran Pillai decided he is going to be a robber because none of his businesses were working, nobody was giving him a job, so he decided he will go and rob somebody. So he got himself a country-made gun. Late night he walked into a 7-Eleven shop, pointed the gun at the clerk who was there and said, "Give me the money or your geography." The clerk said, "Well, what you mean is history, isn't it?" "Shut up, don't try to change the subject." No, we are not talking about different subjects. There's only one subject, that's you. But you can either fall in this pit or that pit. That will be your experience of life. So to fall into the right place, it is a certain talent. You have to grow into it, you have to mature into it. You always know how to be in the right place. In a way, satsang means just that, communion with truth, or you're building a relationship with truth. If you're in the company of truth, your interiority is pleasant. If your interiority is pleasant, naturally pleasant things come towards you. And you will also have a tendency to move towards pleasant things. If you make your interiority unpleasant, you will attract unpleasant things and you will also move towards unpleasant things. In the ashram, when you get a depression, where do you go and sit? But don't swim in the septic tank because you're in a bad mood. But usually this is the tendency. When you're in a bad mood, you will seek 5 other people who are in a bad mood. No, when you're in a bad mood, you must seek 5 people who are in a good mood, isn't it? No, but that's not the way. When you're in a black mood, you will seek 5 other people who are in the same mood, isn't it? That's just like going to the septic tank for a swim because you're depressed. The wrong way to handle life, that's all. I'm not saying you should not do it. Just not in your favor, that's all. It is just that you have become so self-sufficient, you don't need any enemies anymore in your life. That's a lot of self-sufficiency. So, spiritual process is another thing. To keep physiological cleanliness and psychological cleanliness is the first thing. Otherwise, spirituality will be a battle. It will not be, fragrance of a jasmine upon the spring breeze, no. It will be an uphill task, a battle, all the time a battle. A lot of people experience their life, particularly their spiritual life, as a battle because they do not maintain some fundamental discipline about the geography of their body and the geography of their psychological space. If these 2 things are not managed, everything will be a battle. Now, you happen to claim that you're spiritual, so that will also be a battle. That's how only way life can be. So, satsang means to make friends with truth. Truth is your friend, not falsehood. You start at whichever level of truth you know. You don't have to start at the ultimate truth, you cannot. However you understand truth, you start with that. You understand truth as, let's say, speaking truth, please start with that. You understand truth as being gentle to everything around you, start with that, it doesn't matter where you start. Whichever way you understand truth, you start from that and see how to take a step every day. Silence does not mean shutting your mouth silence. What is being referred to as silence or nishabd? One cannot do this. One can become this. See if you can articulate the same things that you're saying with half the number of words. Suddenly you will become extremely conscious of everything. The wind makes its own sound, so does the water. So does the earth. In fact, so does the sky. All the celestial objects are making their own sounds. There are sounds of pain, sounds of pleasure, sounds of misery, sounds of joy. For everything there is a sound. With human life, it's very true. Sounds of life, and there are sounds of death, and there are even sounds of silence. So this complex amalgamation of sounds, different kinds of sounds, creates different intent, different levels of compulsiveness, different levels of bondage, and different possibilities of entanglement. In all this, why one chooses to become silent? Silence is not a way of denying yourself life. It is not even about denying yourself articulation. Silence is about moving from compulsiveness to consciousness. All sounds represent different forms and different dimensions of compulsiveness. When one chooses to become conscious, not be entangled in the compulsive nature of the existence, he naturally chooses to become silent. Silence does not mean shutting your mouth silence, plugging your ears silence. You can sing in silence. You can dance in silence. You can even speak in silence. You can even scream in silence. You don't try. That does not mean when everybody is silent you scream. That is not screaming in silence. Because
Sound is of the surface, silence is of the core. It is only the surface which makes the sound. See, now the water is hitting the surface and making the sound. Deep down, there is no sound. That is so with life. On the surface, it is a very complex mesh of sounds, a maze of sounds happening. But at the core, there is no sound. There is no word for no sound in English language. We call it nishabd. That means absence of sound, a total absence of sound. Absence of sound means absence of reverberation. Absence of reverberation means absence of life. Absence of life means absence of creation. Absence of creation means absence of the Creator too. So a space which is beyond creation and Creator, a dimension which is beyond life and death, that is what is being referred to as silence or nishabd. One cannot do this. One can become this. Commonly, there are two words employed to describe this. One is maun, that means you're practicing silence, you're not silent. You shut your mouth and you're remaining in maun. This is not nishabd. Maun means you're practicing silence. If you're practicing something, obviously you're not that. Are you life or are you practicing life? I'm asking you. Are you life or are you practicing life? Practicing life? No, your life. Maybe not very well practiced, but your life. Similarly, there is a difference between practicing silence and becoming silence. Practicing silence starts as a certain restriction, but slowly, as one practices silence, one can possibly become silent. One can become silent in intense activity, but nobody can keep up intense activity forever. Moments of intense activity are only moments, nobody can sustain it. You'll expend yourself. Only if you can achieve it in inactivity, it is sustainable. If something is possible only in intense activity, it is never sustainable. In a very intense and ecstatic moment of singing, somebody may become or taste a moment of silence. But how long can you keep it up? Your throat will tear. And your neighbors may kill you. Possible. So this possibility of coming to silence or becoming silent also means to become still, to become utterly still. Stillness can be achieved in so many ways. If you watch a snake, he's still. If you watch a tiger which is on a hunt, absolutely still, charged but still. These are all different dimensions of stillness practiced for survival. If a snake moves too often, he'll get killed. If a tiger does not know how to be still, he'll never get his food. These are all acts of survival. A human being, for survival, he has to be active. Only when his vision falls upon something which is beyond survival, then he will think of stillness. Then he will understand as he observes himself, as he notices the complexity of one's compulsions. He understands the only way to solve it is to become still. To train this body, to train this mind, to become still, takes some effort. If one is simply blissed out, he will become still. But otherwise, one has to work bit by bit, one has to work to bring this body to absolute stillness. Most people cannot hold their body in one place for any length of time. They're all the time in moment. As it is said, a man is ill only because he does not know how to be still. Because in stillness, you are in touch with a dimension way beyond creation. Once one is in touch with that, there is no such thing as illness. If I sit here and the body rots and falls down, still there is no illness, it's just there. Because in fact, when one becomes utterly still, he may not be able to hold on to the body unless he learns the tricks, the mechanism of the body. So why should I become still? Will I lose my body? Anyway, you will lose your body. When the time to lose your body comes, if you want to lose it gracefully, then you must know at least a little bit of stillness. If you want to put your body down like you can put this piece of cloth down, with the same ease, with the same gracefulness, then you need to have some stillness in you. Otherwise, you and your body, you have to be torn apart, which is an ugly thing to do. When you're being torn away from your body, it is an ugly and painful thing to do, unless you can keep it down. There's no grace in life. So if one has to attain to that grace, at least a certain amount of stillness has to enter your life. For this to happen, a certain level of silence has to enter your life. If right now if it is not coming, at least practicing a little bit of Maum. In an hour, if you're speaking 1573 words right now, how many more? How many words do you spit out in a minute? 1573, you're actually doing that many? I thought that's impossible. Okay, I believe you. So whatever number you're doing, see if you can articulate the same things that you're saying with half the number of words. Suddenly you will become extremely conscious of everything. Right now, our oral diarrhea is happening. If you're doing 1573, it's diarrhea, okay. Now, if you have to hold back half the words and still say the same things, now you have to be very conscious, otherwise you cannot say it. Just try this and see. Tomorrow, one day. In an hour, normally what number of words you utter? Make it half. Don't curtail your activity, still say the same things. But with half the words, how wonderful the whole world will feel, you know. World will be a wonderful place, I'm telling you, tomorrow, if everybody does this. Many marriages will be saved.
What does success look like? What does it take? Human being has come with such open sense of possibilities. Those who are committed to being successful with whatever they are doing, one important aspect of their life is, that is what get you across so many lines in our life, so many barriers in our life. This happened in your school, maybe later in your university, later in your work. It's happening to people. Maybe not everyone, but to a whole lot of people. Their commitment to success is weak. They want to succeed, they will take 3 steps, then something little interesting happens here, they will go away here, they'll go away there, they'll go away there. Hey, I want to live, huh? Their commitment to success is weak. Either situations around them in some way, situations can impede you from doing what you're doing very easily. Many times it happens to everyone. But when this happens, people weaken their commitment for their success. Maybe physically, they'll feel little weak, they will weaken their commitment to success. Maybe their emotions slosh around a little bit, they will weaken their commitment to success. This is very important right now. However long it takes, this virus, you must come out of this successfully. That means you must stay alive, that's an important part. And commitment to staying alive should not be slackened, no matter what happened. Somebody very dear to us passed away, all the more important we must live. People around us are all sick, all the more important we are healthy to take care of the people around us. So our commitment to success should not weaken because there is social drama going on, or physiological drama or psychological drama, whatever happens, your commitment to success should not weaken. That is what get you across so many lines in our life, so many barriers in our life. So, what does success look like? What does it take? You must understand, those who made any significant achievements in their life, they did not, I don't want to take any personal examples of anybody, I'm trying to avoid obvious things that are coming to my mind. Well, I know family and friends who always have their breakfast on time. And after breakfast, of course, they must have coffee. After coffee, of course, they must light up a cigarette and sit there nicely because they're trying to become peaceful. And then they will go to work, come back home exactly on time for lunch, eat lunch, rest for 1 or 2 hours, sleep, then evening have one tea and then smoke, and then again go to work. And 8 o'clock, 8:30, they're back home for dinner and then maybe other things, drink and this and that and whatever. Well, that's their priority. It's fine, I'm not complaining, it should not be that way. But those who have been very successful, either in music, sport, art, business, spiritual process, doesn't matter what, those people never know when they ate, when they slept, when they got afternoon rest. I've not seen such a thing in my life. So, those who are committed to being successful with whatever they're doing, one important aspect of their life is they're not settling down wherever it's a bit comfortable. Because comfort will happen when they lower you to in the grave, very comfortable you are, you know. Have you seen how comfortable they are? Once they're dead, if you throw them there also they're comfortable, if you lower them they're comfortable, even if you burn them. Right? Yes or no? Comfort will come. Right now, it's about ensuring that there is profoundness of experience and there is impactfulness of activity. Because if they had given you a limitless amount of time, you could do all those things, nothing wrong, I'm not against them. But they gave you such little time with such tremendous potential of being human, that's the problem. If creation had made you like an earthworm, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with an earthworm, it is just that it's a unipolar potential, it can only do that much. An earthworm is not thinking of climbing a tree because it knows it'll be picked up by the birds, it never has such aspirations. It just wants to recycle the earth. You know, it is beneficial to so many other lives, including us, but its objective is very clear, to eat and to reproduce and to die. Very clear objectives. That purpose to fulfill, he strives. I don't think he sleeps in the afternoon. I don't think so because many afternoons I've seen earthworms, they were all vigorously active. But a human being came with too many potentials. Because of that, it needs a certain level of striving for a human being to forget about the world, to consider yourself successful. If your idea of success is you're doing little better than your neighbor, I call that sickness, that is not success. You're happy that your neighbor is worse than you, is this sickness or success? It is sickness. But in some way you feel fulfilled with what you're doing, let's consider that as success for now. It doesn't matter whether you're better than somebody or worse than somebody, that question should not even come up in your mind. But in some way you feel you're using yourself fully and there's a certain sense of fulfillment in your activity. Well, if you're capable of just closing your eyes and simply sitting without any activity, that's fantastic. But you cannot do that. You cannot do that right now in the states that you are. You can't simply close your eyes and become still. Instead of being busy, you will become preoccupied. That doesn't mean you're improving, that means you're regressing in some way. The problem about this success is people always making judgments, I did this, I did that, maybe this didn't work, maybe this is a mistake, that's a mistake. There's no such thing in life. See, at one time you were a monkey, all right? This is not me, this is that Englishman, you know. Charles Darwin said, you were all monkeys. At one time you were a monkey, just a brief while ago. Was it a mistake that you committed, that you were a monkey? Or was it just a certain stage of evolution? Was it a mistake or was it just a certain stage of evolution? Similarly, since you were born, because as a human being, you are born largely unformed, unlike other creatures. Other creatures, if they are just… their food is taken care of, they know what to do with their life. Because human being has come with such open sense of possibilities, you come unformed, you don't come fixed. You have to fix yourself. Different people throw different types of balls at you. From all over, your parents, your teachers, the school, the neighbors and the society and the world throws all kinds of things at you. To gather all this muck and make something worthwhile out of yourself is your business, that's your success. It doesn't matter whether somebody thinks you're worthwhile or not, you feel you're a worthwhile life. Good enough for now. World may not recognize, it doesn't matter, but you know you're worthwhile. Our mind is a tremendous gift where it remembers vividly every experience and every information that comes our way. Well, this can be transformed into your phenomenal imagination, but if you lose control over your imagination, if you lose the discrimination as to what is imagination and what is reality, what is future, what is present and what is past, then your mind will become your greatest enemy. Most human beings are not suffering life, they're just suffering their memory and their imagination. What happened 10 years ago, they still suffer. What may happen day after tomorrow, they already suffer. This is not about life, this is about lack of control over two most fantastic faculties that human beings have, a vivid sense of memory and a fantastic sense of imagination. Do not worry about your future. If you do your present well, future will naturally blossom. We can only work with what's on our hands right now. You cannot work with what's on your mind. You can plan for what's on your mind, but you cannot do anything about it. You can only act in the present moment. You can only handle what is there right now. Those of you who too engrossed in your own thoughts and emotions, constantly being maybe on social media or something, I think you must get rid of your phone and take a walk in the forest. If it's not possible every day, at least 1 or 2 days in a month, you might get lost somewhere, just be in nature all by yourself, walk, sit, observe. If you pay enough attention, you will see, you will be so enchantingly enamored by every little thing in the existence because the way a single ant is made is too much for you and your intelligence to grasp exactly how this is made. Those who have not peeled their eyes to the creation get too enamored with their own mental creations, which is their thought, the juicy part being emotion. When your thought and your emotion becomes more important than the Creator's creation, that means you have become a perceptual tragedy. You have not realized the nature of life at all. We know many things, we can do many things, but we do not know anything in its entirety. So this is the nature of the existence. If you pay attention to it, naturally your own thought and emotion will sink to the background. You can still enjoy them, but you know how insignificant it is. So it's very important that if you want to experience the multifarious dimensions of life, you have to be non-serious. You become serious
only because you have taken your own existence too seriously, though we exist here for a minuscule amount of time in this cosmos. This is a vast cosmos. The very planetary system, the solar system in which we exist is a speck. In that, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, the place you live or the city you live is a super micro speck. In that, you have become a big man or woman, and that's the reason why you're so serious about life. It's a brief amount of time that you have as life. In this, if you take yourself too seriously, you are one big joke. The secret of life is to see everything with a non-serious eye, but to be absolutely involved like a sport. So be a sport for life. If you want to be a sport for life, you have to be able to see that your existence is of consequence for the times in which we live, but not of eternal consequence unless you touch the eternal dimension of who you really are.
It's such a brief life, only in doing what you truly care for will your life become worthwhile. If genuine involvement has to come in your life, for you to give yourself absolutely, you must be doing something that truly matters to you. It's important that you find that. When I say it's important to find that, you don't have to spend half your life looking for what is my passion. No, you just have to dig into this ability of you making everything yours. When everything is yours, this whole world is yours, this cosmos is yours. So when it is a part of you, if you involve yourself absolutely and constantly strive to create what matters to you, what you really care for, then your existence itself will be worthwhile. Not necessarily your actions, not necessarily what you achieve and may not achieve, but your very existence will be truly worthwhile, because just to breathe and be is a phenomenon. There is no greater phenomenon than life. If this is not worthwhile,